Ratio and proportions. The word rate is commonly used in everyday lives. For example, unemployment rate, or interest rate, or hourly rate. A rate is a comparison of two quantities and can be written as a fraction. For example, how many miles we travel on a certain amount of gas. We travel 300 miles on 10 gallons of gas. We can write as a rate as a fraction 300 miles over 10 gallons. Or 3 inches of rainfall in 24 hours. So we would write as a rate 3 inch over 24 hours. Or 500 megabytes of data was downloaded in 5 seconds. So that's a rate. Note that a rate always involves two different types of measurements. A unit rate is a rate in which the number in the denominator is 1. Denominator means on the bottom. For example, a speed is a rate at which the distance is covered. So 60 miles per hour. We have 60 miles per 1 hour. So that's a unit rate. And this can be also written as 60 miles per hour, or we can write it in this form, 60 miles per hour. Or another example would be 15 meters per second. We can write 15 meters per 1 second. So it is a unit rate, or we can write it in this form. How much money we earn, a rate at which someone earns money per unit of time worked. So $16 per hour per 1 hour. So that's a rate. Or a cost of item like $2.50 of apples per 1 pound. So $2.50 per 1 pound. It is a rate. So Sarah drove, let's see example 1. Sarah drove 240 miles in 4 hours. How many miles did she drive per hour? So we can write this as a rate 240 miles per 1 hour. I'm sorry, per 4 hours. That's our rate per 4 hours. And we would like to change it per 1 hour. So we want to have it 1 hour in the denominator. How do we get from 4 hours to 1 hour? Of course, we need to divide this. Divide this by 4 and divide this by 4. Whatever we do on the bottom, we need to do on the top. 4 hours divided by 4 is 1 hour, but 240 divided by 4 is 60. So how many miles she drove in 1 hour? She drove 60 miles in 1 hour. A ratio is the comparison of two quantities that have the same units. A ratio can be written as a fraction, like 3/4, or as two numbers separated by a colon, 3:4, so 3:4, or we can say it separated with the word 2, 3:4. That's a ratio. For example, a recipe might call it for 2 cups of flour for every cup of sugar. So this is a ratio of flour to sugar is 2:1. 2 cups of flour to 1 cup of sugar. Or a ratio of boys to girls in a class. So if we have in a class 30 students, either there are 18 boys and 12 girls, then the ratio of boys to girls is 18 to 12. But this can be, we can write this as a fraction. We can write this 18/12, and this can be simplified if we divide both sides, divide by 6, divide by 6. So this simplifies to 3/2. So the ratio boys to girls can be 18:12, or it's equivalent to have it 3:2. So pay attention, if the ratio says that it's 3:2, that does not mean there is 3 boys or 2 girls. That means that it can be any multiple of them. We can have it 3 boys to 2 girls, and then we can multiply times 2 would be 6 to 4, or multiply times 3 would be 9 to 6. This is all equivalent ratio. Or multiply times 5 would be 15 to 10. So this is all equivalent ratio. A unit ratio is a ratio in which the number in the denominator is 1. So the number on the bottom is 1. A proportion is an equation equating two ratio or two rates. To solve proportion, we cross-multiply the terms. So for example, you have A over B is equal to C over D. We cross-multiply. So we have A times D, and it's equivalent to B times C. This can also be written that we can write this B times C is equal to A times D. So we can multiply this way first. B times C is equal to A times D. So either way, we can multiply this. Let's see example. For example, solve each proportion. Round your answer to the nearest hundreds. So we have 5/4 is equal to A over 6. So we're gonna cross multiply. 5 times A is 5A is equal to, and then we have 4 times 6 is equal to 24. So now we can solve it for A. We're gonna divide by 5, and this cancel out. So we have A is equal to, if we type of calculator, 24 divided by 5 is 4.8. And if we need to the nearest 100, we need 2 decimal. So A would be 4.8 and 0. Example B. As before, we're gonna multiply. So we have 2 times x. X times 2, which gonna be 2x is equal to, and we multiply 5 times 7. 5 times 7 is 35. And as before, we need to divide this. To isolate, divide by 2, this cancel out, and we have that x is equal to 35 divided by 2 is 17.5. Or if we need to the nearest hundreds, this is the first one is 10, the next one would be hundreds. So we're gonna have 17.5 and 0. And then the last example, if we do exactly the same, x times 12 is gonna be equal to 2 times 1. So x times 12 is 12x, and this is equal 2 times 1 is 2. Now we would need to solve it, so we will divide this by 12, divide by 12, this cancel out, and we have x is equal to, and if we type on calculator, we will get 0.16666, and it keeps going. So to round it to the nearest hundreds, 10 is the first one, the hundreds is the second one. To round to the nearest 100, we look at the next digit. If the next digit We look in the next digit. If the next digit is 5 or more, we change this number to 1 higher. If this number is less than 5, we would leave it as is. So in that case, x is equal to 0.1 and 7, because this number right here is more than 5, so we round it up to 1 digit. So this is to the nearest hundreds. Example 3, the dosage of a cold medication is 2 milligrams for every 80 pounds of body weight. How many milligrams of this medication are required for a child who weighs 100 pounds? So the best way is to set up proportion. On one side we have medication, so here we have medication, and on the other side we're gonna have body weight. So we see that for 2 grams we're gonna have 2 milligrams of that medicine is for 80 pounds. So now how many milligrams of medication are required for a child who weighs 100 pounds? In that case, we need to line it up, pounds under the weight. So we're gonna put them right here in this spot. We're gonna have 100 pounds right here. And we don't know how many milligrams of medication, so it would be X milligrams. And if I set it up equal sign, I have nothing else but proportion. In that proportion, my milligrams cancel out, my pounds cancel out, so what I'm left is 2 over X is equal 80 over 100. I can also cancel that zeros because that means I'm dividing by 10. This is equivalent to dividing by 10, dividing by 10. So what we have is 2 over x is equal to 8 over 10. We can also divide more, but not needed. Now to solve proportion. To solve proportion, you need to have one fraction on one side and one fraction on the other side. Then we can solve it. We're gonna, as before, cross multiply. So we have 8x times 8 is 8x is equal to, and we have 2 times 10, which is 20. And we need to solve it for x. So what we need to do is divide by 8, 8 cancel out. And then when we type on calculator, 20 on this side we have x is equal 20 divided by 8 is 2.5. So how many milligrams of this medication are needed? It's needed 2.5 milligrams. 2.5 milligrams of that medication is needed. Example 4. In a 3-pound bag of oranges that cost $4.50. What is the cost per pound of oranges? We can do it using rates or we can use proportion. So on one side we're gonna have pounds, on the other side we're gonna have dollar amount, and then you try to only line up in this part and line up on that part. So we have 3 pounds that cost $4.50. And now we are asking cost, what is the cost? So that would be my x, and pounds of 1 pound of oranges. So 1 pound is my x dollars. If I put division, I have proportion. So we can cancel pounds and pounds. We can cancel dollar and dollar amounts. So what I'm left is 3 over 1 is equal to 4.550 over x over 1. So we can solve proportion by cross multiplying. So we're gonna have 3x is equal to 1 times 4.5. So it's 4.5 or 450 is the same. To solve it for x, we need to divide by 3, divide by 3. So this cancel out. So x is equal to, and we type on calculator 4.5 divided by 3 is 1.5, or in other words that this is $1.50. So 1 pound cost, 1 pound of oranges cost $1.50. Example 5. A small pizza is cut into 6 slices and cost 13.50. What is the cost per slice of that pizza? So on one side, as before, we can set up proportion. On one side, we will have slices, and on the other side, we're gonna have dollars amount. So we have 6 slices. So this would be 6 slices. It cost 13.50. Now, what is the cost per 1 slice? So we will line up slices. 1 slice, it costs X amount. And if we put division, that's my proportion. So we have 6 over 1 is equal to 13.50 over X. And as we solve proportion, we will cross multiply. 6 times x is 6x is equal 1 times 13.5 is 13.5. To solve it for x, we need to divide by 6. Divide by 6. This cancel out. So my x is, type on calculator, 13.5 divided by 6 is 2.25. So 1 slice cost $2.25. A unit price of a product is the cost per unit measured. So the unit price helps us to compare which product is the most economical. If you know how much it costs per 1 unit, then you can compare different prices. For example, which is more economical purchase? Option 1, A, is 12 ounces box of cereal cost $3.60, or 18-ounce box of the same cereal cost $5.04. So we're gonna do it. We'll try to find unit per unit how much it costs per 1 ounce in that case. So here we have option A. We have 12 ounces cost $3.60. Now we want to find 1 ounce. That's gonna be my X dollars. Dollar amount, ounces and dollar amount cancel out. And we have 12 over 1 is equal to 3.6 over X. Solve proportion by cross multiplying. So 12 times x is 12x is equal to 1 times 3.6 is 3.60. To solve it, we would divide by 12, divide by 12, this cancel out, and we have that x is equal to, if we type this on calculator, 0.3. So 1 ounce costs $0.3, or this is nothing else but 30 cents. So now let's see for option B. So we have 18 ounces cost $5.04. Now 1 ounce cost X dollars. And this is my proportion. As before, ounces can cancel out, dollars can cancel out. So what I am left with is 18 over 1 is equal 5.04 over x. We will cross multiply, so we're gonna have 18 times x, which is 18x is equal to, and we have 1 times 5.04, so it's 5.04. To solve it for x, we need to divide by 18, divide by 18, 18 cancel out, and we have that x is equal, and we can type on calculator 5.04 divided by 18 is 0.28. So for option B, 1 ounce costs 0.28 or 28 cents. So in this case, option B is a more economical choice. So option B is simply cheaper because 28 or 30 cents a little more. Example 7. Which is more economical price? Option 1 is a pack of 6 juice boxes cost $2.70, or a pack of 8 juice boxes cost $3.68. So option 1, and here would be option 2. So as before, here we would have 6 juice boxes cost $2.70. Now 1 juice box, that's gonna be my x, and that's my proportion. So we have 6 over 1 is equal 2.7 over x. As before, we cross multiply. 6 times x is 6x is equal 1 times 2.7 is 2.7 or 270. To solve it, we will divide by 6. So my x is 2.7 divided by 6 is 0.45 of a dollar. So one juice box, one box costs 0.45 of a dollar. So in other words, 45 cents. Let's see option 2. We have 8 boxes, and that cost $3.68. Now 1 box, we want to know how much it cost. So that is my proportion. we can use it as before, cross multiply. Those two gonna be equal those two. So we have 8x is equal to 1 times 3.68 is 3.68. To solve it, we will divide by 8, divide by 8. So in that case, we have that x is equal to, if you type this on calculator, 0.46. So in option B, one box cost $0.46 or 46 cents. So in that case, option 2 is more expensive. So the more economical would be option 1. Because we have 45 cents comparing to 46 cents. Example 8. A baker is making a special frosting that requires confectionery sugar and butter in the ratio 4:3 by weight. If the baker uses 12 ounces of confectionery sugar, how many ounces of butter are needed for that frosting? So this we can set up proportion as well. On one side we have sugar, on the other side we will have butter. So the ratio sugar to butter is 4:3. So we have 4:3. 4 sugar, 3 butters. And then we use that we have 12 ounces of sugar. So this we need to write it down under 12 ounces of sugar, and we have X ounces of butter, and this is my proportion. So we can solve it as before, cross multiply. 4 times X is 4X, and 12 times 3 is 36. To solve it for x, we would divide by 4, this cancel out. So we have that x is equal to 36 divided by 4 is 9. So we need 9 ounces of butter. My x was butter. So we need 9 ounces of butter. That was the x, right? So if we have the ratio 3:4, then we use it 3 of sugar, 4 of butter, and we sign it up as in the proportion accordingly as it is. Example 9. A simple salad dressing recipe uses olive oil and lemon juice in the ratio 5:2. So for every 5 olive oil, we need to do 2 lemon juice. You only have 3 tablespoons of lemon juice left. How much olive oil in tablespoons should you use to make a small batch of dressing while keeping the ratio correct? So we can set up proportion. On one side, we will have olive oil, and on the other side we will have lemon juice. So we have 5 olive oil, 2 lemon juice. That comes from the ratio. And now we have 2 tablespoons, and you need to line up of lemon juice. So make sure you put in the lemon juice. So in that case, we have 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. This, you need to make sure that this given data, you sign it up on the proper lemon juice in this case. So we don't know how much olive oil we need, so that's my X. and we can use proportion x times 2 is equal to 5 times 3. X times 2 is 2x is equal to 5 times 3 is 15. So to solve it, we will divide by 2, so this cancel out. So my x is equal to 7.5. So we need 7.5 tablespoons of olive oil. We need 7.5 tablespoons of olive oil to add to keep the correct ratio.